Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A wonderful lady, Rosa Parks, said these words: "If you want to be respected for your actions, then your behavior must be above reproach. If our lives demonstrate that we are peaceful, humble, and trusted, this is recognized by others." Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a Patriot. Call in right now with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, my goodness sakes. Good morning on a Wednesday. What a day yesterday. Oh, my goodness. All the angel dandruff. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Hi, Zeb.
Well, Abby, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, man, have I missed hearing you. Well, good morning, and give us the pledge, please. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So how are you, Abby? I haven't talked to you for a long time.
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, now, this is a very rude question to ask a young lady, but I haven't seen you for so long. I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 12.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Well, I get a chance to talk to your dad every now and then, and he's pretty proud of you kids, so keep up the good work, and thanks for calling in this morning, okay?
Okay.
All right. God bless. There is just a sweetheart. Abby called in with a pledge. Thank you very much. Hey, it is time for our weather forecast. Well, that made me feel good this morning. And the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. I'm telling you, they have all your flooring, all your carpet, all your kitchen construction needs. Boy, they do a nice job on that. And home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Hey, Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Oh, sorry about that, Zeb. Scotty was supposed to put it in today.
And it's not ready.
No, he should have had it loaded in already.
Okay, well, you check it out and find out where it is, would you please?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, weather forecast delayed for a few moments until we get everything checked out. And I want to remind you that they're calling for a warming trend. The snow is going to be over. I know that I've heard that the highs today probably in the middle 50s, maybe about 56, 57. And as we go into the weekend, I'm doing this off the top of my head with memory, they're calling for sunshine conditions and highs in the 60s. So there's your weather forecast for today, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, and the number to call 678-6945. Look for the blue door. Right now, I apologize for the weather not being available this morning. And right now, let's go and give you a couple of public service announcements. One that I need to get on right away. The Burley First Baptist Church, 2262 Highland Avenue in Burley, is going to have this Saturday an enchilada dinner. And it's going to start at 5 and go through 7. And they're going to be raffling off a half beef and a quarter beef. Tickets are $5 or 5 for $20. And then the auction starts at 7 o'clock. Tractors, guns, paintings, all kinds of good items, and proceeds going to the Burley First Baptist Church to pay off their mortgage. And so, congratulations to them. Want to also mention our dear friends at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. And don't forget the wonderful menu choices. My goodness. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking to Thomas over there tomorrow on our program. And whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or anytime, all the time, it's America's Diner. And they serve you with the best. And also the nicest people at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Really good folks. By the way, too, our thanks go out to Ramsey Heating and Electric, and, of course, everything they do for us on the program. Tomorrow at 9:30, we'll be talking to Rita, and we always look forward to that. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday, and they've got all your heating and electrical needs, and they're ready right now to serve you. Call ahead at 678-0459, and they will have your items waiting on the counter. And that's, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. I want to issue an apology for something that was overlooked yesterday, and it's a very important something on my program, and I take the blame for not recognizing and honoring this very special day on my program. Yesterday was Vietnam Veterans Day. And to all the men and women in the audience that served over in that hellacious war, Vietnam, my thoughts, prayers, and well wishes are to you all. Literally, I am so sorry that we didn't acknowledge it yesterday, and it was a complete oversight on my part. And right after the program, it hit me like a right cross to the forehead, and I remembered it, and I thought, oh my goodness, I have to issue my apologies here this morning. So the 29th day of March is Vietnam Veterans Day yesterday, and God's blessings to all of you that are veterans from that war, and our prayers to each and every one of you. Thank you for your service. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Now, if you've got money coming back from a tax return, hey, how about remodeling your house? Oh, you want to put in a new stairs or banister, or maybe redo the living room, or whatever it might be, Minnecasia Sales has all the lumber for your remodeling. Absolutely. And if you're redoing your roof, boy, you noticed some leaks there last winter. Well, they've got all the shingles at the best prices. Stop in and see them today at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. And they are the major sponsor of Dr. History on Tuesdays. Thank you very much. I want you to call me this morning in regards to this story. It's a ridiculous story. I've looked at this tape over 30 times. I have looked at the still photos of this alleged assault at least that equal number of times, 30 times. I find the claim by reporter Michelle Field to be absolutely erroneous and a lie. What am I talking about? Well, it looks like that Corey Lewandowski, the campaign manager for Donald Trump, is going to be facing charges of assault and battery against a female reporter, Michelle Fields. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I've stated, I am not a Trump supporter. inasmuch as I haven't really stepped forward and say who I'm going to support, because quite frankly, I'm not satisfied with the answers I'm hearing on a lot of questions. That being said, I think Trump and his campaign really are getting raped by this absolutely ridiculous, asinine statement of assault and battery. She claimed originally that she was pushed and knocked to the floor. Those are her words, not mine. And after watching this tape and watching Corey Lewandowski step in and remove her hand from Donald Trump, she was bothering him, trying to get him to listen to her for some questions. They were moving out of the ballroom. You can see it on tape vividly. And thank you. And from that point on, he did nothing more than remove her hand. And as far as claims that he pushed her and knocked her to the floor, it's erroneous. 3 days after this incident supposedly happened, she's, oh, my arm, look at the bruises, why they knocked me to the floor. Well, she didn't know that the Trump organization in that room had all the tapes. They had tapes from various angles and still photos. And these tapes were not doctored in any way, shape, or form. And I want to know what you thought about this. As I said, I'm not supporting Trump, but this is nothing more than a smear campaign and a setup. This woman reporter is a liar. And to be frank with you, if touching is an arrestable crime in Florida, in that county, and they call it assault and battery upon a person, then why doesn't Trump turn around and sue her and her employer for her grabbing him twice by the arm? What is the difference? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, you know what's sickening, Zeb, is that Cruz and Kasich are playing right into it. Instead of saying, hey, now that's it, look at the tape. You guys are trying to drum something up that isn't true. They're jumping on board and saying, yeah, if that was my campaign manager, I'd fire him. And they're siding with the crazy people.
No, I think that what you just said, what you just called and said, is absolutely paramount as to what needs to be done. I was sickened by Kasich and Cruz's comments. Hillary, I didn't expect anything better from her. But Cruz and Kasich, they went way down the totem pole of respect when they jumped on the bandwagon, or literally jumped on the raft and tried to push Trump and his campaign down under the water. I think you're 100% right. I found that to be just totally sickening.
And once I watch all them videos, that lady should actually get in trouble for trying to drum something up.
Well, did you?
She won't. She'll just get her hand slapped and set on her way. But what she's doing should be actually illegal. But
did you see the video? Have you seen the video?
I have seen it. I can't. And like Trump said, she grabs his arm about 3 times. You could see it.
Yeah. And did you notice, I want to ask you this, because if you've seen the video, you have to agree with me on this. She never even broke stride. There was no lurching backwards. There was no throwing to the floor. She never moved her left arm. Now, that's something to pay attention to in the tape. Her left hand and arm had the notepad. And did you notice that when he went by, her left arm never even moved or jerked in reaction to a supposed pull or push, and she's claiming that she had bruises on her arm. Man, I'll tell you something, I find this to be absolutely phony.
All right, and then to tell you the honest truth, too, if the Secret Service is letting somebody get that close to him, then they're not doing their job either.
Bingo, you're spot on. Thank you, sir, for your call. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very well said. You know, I listened to a Fox News interviewer this morning, and Brian Kilmeade, and I don't at all times like Brian Kilmeade because I think he tries to sensationalize the issue even more. But his remark was, well, Corey Lewandowski shouldn't have done anything. He should have just absolutely let the Secret Service do the job of moving her away from Trump. Wait a minute. He's the campaign manager, and she was bothering him with her notepad and her recorder as he was trying to walk out. He wasn't taking any questions at that juncture. You can see it on the tape. And she grabbed his right arm twice or 3 times. I'll stick with twice because that's what I saw. And Lewandowski just brushed by, and basically that was enough. And there was no throwing anybody to the floor. I didn't see any big jerk reaction to her body or anything because he was pulling on her. My gosh, this whole thing has got out of hand. And quite frankly, whether I like Trump or not, you've got to be honest and say that he's standing up for somebody that works for him. It would have been so easy to say behind closed doors, Corey Lewandowski, you're out of here. I can't afford to have you be a part of my administration or my campaign. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay with me just a moment. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I'm going to give you the number right now, and I want you to call for an appointment. If you've got aches and pains, arthritis problems, post-surgery problems, whatever, give them a call. They know all the exercises, all the sports medicine. They have the only hydrotherapy pool around, and they can help you get back to being you. 678-1191. 678-1191. Call them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Wasn't it quite a while before she decided to bring this complaint against Lewandowski?
Yeah, it was 3 days.
So someone had a lot of time, one of her cohorts, to grab her by the arm, put the marks on her arm, and complained that Lewandowski did it.
Well,
I'd file a complaint against her.
Oh, absolutely. I find this to be ridiculous. I don't care if you're a Trump fan or a Trump hater. It doesn't make any difference, but let's be fair. This woman absolutely is looking for something more than just a person to be arrested. I find this to be totally apprehensible because of the fact that she's going after Trump and his people because he is Donald Trump. And I think she's looking at a fat hog that she can stick because of the money. That's what I look at.
Well, this is going to backfire. You know, this whole thing is she was probably waiting for permission from the Republican establishment to go ahead with this thing. Yeah,
and the gentleman that called a minute ago and brought up an excellent point. My respect for Kasich and Cruz went down enormously yesterday when they jumped on the bandwagon to side with this reporter, Michelle Fields. I found it just totally revolting.
Well, my feelings were at that point when I heard what was going on is not even to bother voting Trump. If Trump was out of it and Cruz was going to be the nominee, I was just going to stay home on voting day. Well,
I'll tell you something, Tony. I'm just really upset about the way politics is and what it's turning into. And both sides of the aisle, as far as I'm concerned, they need a good, swift kick in the you-know-what.
Well, this country's going to hell. Quick.
Amen. Thank you for your call, my dear friend.
You're welcome.
All right. God bless. Come on. Let's be fair. Oh, there's people out in the audience right now. Oh, goody. Another story against Trump. Let's bury him. Well, let's also be fair and honest, too. Let's also be very, very honest. If you really looked at the tape, and I have 30 times, and really looked at the pictures, and I have at least another 30 times. And I want to be fair and balanced because my reputation on this program is one of being honest. That man didn't do anything like what was alleged towards him. This is ridiculous. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. 3 locations to serve you. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and, of course, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Now is the time to check out buying a Coyote tractor. 0% interest for 60 months. 60 months! Oh my goodness, you can't beat that deal. So stop in and see them today and check out all the Coyote tractors, and they've got them all too. Hey, by the way, they've got all kinds of equipment. All the Doosan, Bobcat, Coyote, Walker mowers, Steel, oh my goodness, Hilti, Honda Power equipment, it's all there. It's all there. Lease or buy at Berry Equipment and Rental. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I'd like some women to call me this morning on this. Really, I would. I would like and really respect if some ladies would call me on this subject right now and let me know your opinion. And if you are biased and prejudiced in favor of this female reporter, I will sit here and listen to you. And I want an honest appraisal of what you thought on that tape. I think it's very important. I think the allegations by this woman are at the very most frivolous and stupid, and at the very least, she shouldn't have said a word. I don't think there's anything there to sue anybody and wreck a man's career and destroy his family, his 4 children, and possibly serve a year's jail sentence? Oh my, come on. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This borders on absolute ridiculousness. Thank you. Give me a call. Come on, ladies. I want to hear from you. If you don't agree with me, I'll listen very quietly and patiently, I promise. Don't forget Lennox, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Number to call, 678-0459. At Ramsey Heating and Electric, they can save you money on Lennox. Call them today. Yeah, come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's a call coming in. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm female, so.
All right. What is your honest appraisal of those tapes?
Well, the little that I saw of it, I couldn't tell whether the guy grabbed her heart or anything, you know. But here's my thought on it. I always tell people I'd be the perfect candidate to be a wife beater's wife because you can hit me hard and I don't bruise, but I just, barely touch something and it's like, wow, where did I get that bruise? Nobody knows how that woman bruises.
That's right. That's right. Now, let me ask you this question. If she is a reporter and she's in the throng of getting the news and asking questions, I'm not advocating anybody with any physical violence whatsoever, but what I am saying to you is, don't you think under those circumstances, when he was leaving the building and not taking any more questions, that she inserted herself into a situation to where, had it not been for Lewandowski, it might very well have been a Secret Service or a couple of Secret Service people, and it might have been a lot rougher.
Exactly, and nowadays anybody can print a badge that says reporter. Isn't that kind of how Bobby Kennedy got killed? Somebody pushing up on him, trying to get to him, type of thing. I mean, I'm not. So in this day and age, who's to say that it wasn't?
How are you going to trust? It was Sirhan going through the kitchen at that hotel when Bobby Kennedy was shot. But how are you going to tell in this day and age? You bring up an excellent point. Safety, security, and common sense have to be paramount today because we can't trust anybody. You can't trust the crowd. You can't trust anybody in the crowd. You can't trust where you're going. And when a reporter, whether male or female, breaks through the line and is following Trump and grabs him on the arm twice, trying to get him to answer questions, and you can see him look at her and then turn away, that's when Lewandowski stepped in between him, Trump, and her, and these charges, as far as I'm concerned, are ridiculous.
Yep.
Well, thank you for your call as always. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, God bless. There's a lady that was forthright and honest, and I appreciate her remarks. I'd like to hear some more people on that. We got some other stories to talk about, too, this morning. And thank you. Give me a call, 436-2244. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup, and located right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. Here is the number. Write it down, 312-0957. That's the number to call for a hearing screening, and I urge you, I really do urge you to call if you're having any problems whatsoever hearing what's going on around you. She can help. She will help. Give her a call today, please, at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Call today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Would DNA play into this at all? If she was really, her arm was gouged or something by fingernails or something, wouldn't DNA prove who did it?
And Keith, there's so many things. I'm not going to say one way or the other, because a lot of talk show hosts would give you a bunch of blather and they'd say, oh, yeah, this, that, and the other. I don't know. But I looking at the tape, it looked like she had a long-sleeved either coat or blazer or something on, and it wasn't her bare arm. And I still say, after 3 days of not saying or doing anything, those bruises could have been self-inflicted. She could have done it herself and taken a camera and shot the pictures. And to me, it's all an anti-Trump sleaze. That's what it is to me.
Well, I think something like that should be reported at least within a certain amount of hours, or else the thing goes cold, and that's what this has done.
I agree with you. That this is ridiculous for her to have waited 3 days and then all of a sudden come out with these huge allegations of, oh my goodness, he knocked me to the floor. Well, you can see that's a lie right from the get-go.
She should be charged with perjury, and then let's see where we go from there.
Yeah, I think this is a defense attorney's heaven. Any defense attorney would love to have her on the witness stand. They would love to tear this story apart, and she is going to be made what she is right now, a fool.
I know perjury doesn't seem to be a problem anymore because of Hillary, because she lies only when her mouth is open. But this is ridiculous that it would go on for 3 days before anyone came forth.
I agree.
There was a chance for her to build her case and sort of cover up her tracks.
Amen. Very well thought out and said, Keith. I appreciate you, my dear friend. God bless you, man. Thanks for your call. Thank you. Nice man, a good friend. Hey, by the way, don't forget, coming up on April the 9th, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, Rogge Auctions is going to be having the great big community consignment auction. Oh, my goodness. And they're going to be taking items for the sale up until the day before April 8th. Oh, my goodness, they got pickup trucks. They've got small bale conveyors. They've got, what else have they got on here? My goodness sakes, I'm looking at a list a mile long. Miscellaneous lawnmowers and other lawn tools, shop equipment, and they've got all kinds of chainsaws and everything. Whoa, it's going to be a quality sale. On April 9th at 10 a.m. Saturday at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, community consignment auction sponsored and, of course, put on by Rogge Auctions. Going to be a good one. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, too, don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Every Monday, we give away a half dozen cinnamon rolls, and boy, what a great place to go. Great bakery, cookies, breads, chocolates, all kinds of goodies, cinnamon rolls, and then, of course, great restaurant, too, at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Great food. You know, how low can human beings go and still be called human beings? I was sitting at my desk this morning before this program, and I'm not ashamed to say this. Tears welled up in my eyes. And hatred, pure, unadulterated hatred, swelled up in my heart against the absolutely worthless flesh that call themselves ISIS. They have come out with reports yesterday, and they're blatantly telling everybody in the news media what they're going to do. Now they're going to be setting targets on Jewish school children. If you have any kind of human love and accord, how in the world could you... I'm just taken aback by this. That a human being can get this low, like pond scum, and target Jewish or any child in a school. That's what they're going to go after. And you have to wonder how sick and perverted these people are. Look around you. God's beautiful world. And think about what mankind, with their free will and their free spirit, is doing to it. Now here are families that are just absolutely... the fear and the trepidation of sending their children to school. Should be one of the greatest environments anywhere on the globe. But they have the fear and trepidation of sending their children to school for fear they're going to be shot and killed or blown up by a group that is absolutely of no value to mankind. No. What's our administration doing? Nothing. Oh, well, let's not say any bad words about them, and maybe they won't be so bad to people. Maybe they'll back off. This is not Zeb Bell's word or words. That's from the mouth of Barack Obama. I had somebody the other day ask me after a program last week why I absolutely am so spiteful against Obama. Need I say more? The man is not doing anything. In my opinion, you have yours, I have mine. He's not doing anything to help protect we the people. He is a waste. He's been the worst president ever elected in this country. And I hope the voting populace can see through all the smoke screens that are being put up by the left in favor of Hillary and or, God forbid, Bernie Sanders. And on the other side of the aisle, it doesn't get much better. Where are the quality people? Where are the people of high moral character? Where are the people that money hasn't bought? Where are the people that really want to lead this country and put it back on a moral and value compass? Where are they? They're not running for office right now. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, too, about our friends with Maisie and Penetron Soil Conditioner. Oh, my goodness, 22-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. Yes, sirree, and year-long crop and soil benefits are realized as well. Speeds germination, reduces crusting, improves stand, stimulates root growth and microbial activity, and builds soil structure, too. I'm telling you, Penetron Soil Conditioner gives faster water infiltration, reduces runoff, and helps create less water usage. That's right. Penetron treated crops have better roots, and you can increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Get the original, not the cheap imitations. Contact your crop advisor today to obtain Penetron soil conditioner, or you can call my dear friend Adrian Arp at 734-2255. What are your thoughts about this? I mean, targeting children. This world is insane. It's insane. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, about 3 years ago on this program, I came out one morning and I made my statements against welfare recipients and the money that they have, etc. And I clarified my remarks at that time. It's all on tape. I've got the backup to prove this. I said that there are those receiving welfare checks that are just absolutely down and out, and they may have physical problems, they may have any number of problems, that they can't get work or whatever, and they deserve our help and assistance. But there are also those that are extreme deadbeats and worthless, that are living on your money and mine and not doing a doggone thing except going home, turning on the TV, and eating bonbons. That's the phraseology I used on that program. I said that in order to qualify for their money, they have to prove any physical inadequacies or whatever, or prove that they can't get a job or whatever. They've got to prove that they deserve the welfare money. And I said that they should at least be subject to, those that can, volunteer work in the community, or maybe holding down whatever job it might be to aid and abet getting that check. Oh, my. The liberal left in this area, and there are many, they came after me like it was a witch hunt, and damned and condemned me. Oh, those poor people, they don't have anything, and you want to take their checks away, their money away. Oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Well, listen, folksies, there's a lot of people out there that are nothing more than just like Scotch tape. Anything that it touches, it sticks to them, and that's what they're looking for from our money. Many of them are deadbeats. Many of them can go to work. Many of them can volunteer and help for community service. Many of them can do something to basically be worth the money that is coming out of your pocket and my money and your pocket, to give them basically a free ride. Well, now 12 states are adopting the rules and regulatory means of saying volunteer service or at least 20 hours a week work. Oh, gee, I was ahead of my time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, there's 11 states now. There's more people on welfare than are actually working. So this is where the Democrats have such a big advantage. They got more free stuff. You got 91% of the Muslims that are coming into the country, these refugees, are on food stamps. They get cash assistance, housing, all this kind of stuff, basically equivalent of almost $50,000 a year, and they don't have to do anything for it.
Yep.
You know, it's just really, and of course then they compete and get paid low pay, and so then they do qualify for welfare. And then, of course, the state legislature wisely did not expand the Medicaid thing because it'll bankrupt the state.
Yep.
Our politicians are wise enough to see as soon as the federal government drops their payment part of it, we're going to be saddled with a humongous millions of dollars in medical cost for these refugees and others that are in that category.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Stop, Adrian. Wait a minute. Stop. Just for a second. I want to ask you a question. Pardon my rudeness, but there's a point that needs to be made here. I'm going to be very rude, but you and I have been friends for a long time. How old are you right now today?
Oh, let's put it this way, I'm over 65.
Well, I know how old you are, and you're a year older, I think, than I am. And you're still working. You're still trying to be productive. I'm still working, and I'm well over 65. I'm still trying to be productive. And you know what? We are paying for these people to be unproductive, the ones that are taking advantage of the system, and I'm not happy about it.
Well, in addition to that, Bill Clinton, you don't have to make very much, and you pay income tax, federal income tax, and state income tax on your Social Security.
Yeah.
This is double taxation, but this is what's happening, and so like you say, there's the productive factor. I've got a friend that's just retiring this year. He will be 90 this fall. He's been working productively. And all of his class, they were UCLA chemists, all of them at the age of 80 were still working. But that's what made this country great.
That's right.
Now we got all this give me entitlement class out there that just thinks the government, and you've got Bernie Sanders and Hillary out there saying, they want free this, free that. Well, somebody's got to pay for that, and you and I and other productive people are doing that.
I agree. I got a weather forecast. I'm late on. Look at your watch. You can see I'm running late. Adrian, God bless you, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks a lot.
All right. Got to get to the weather. I'm running a little bit late here this morning. Thank you for your calls, and I'll look for more in just a minute. And the weather brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. 336 South, 450 West of Paul. The number to call, 431-8733. Boy, now's the time to get all your trees pruned, and proper pruning, I got to watch how I pop my peas. Proper pruning means better tree growth. You get a hold of them today, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And right now, here's the weather.
Well, we finally made it through Snowpocalypse 2016. Time now for your weather here at Zab at the Ranch. For today, looks like a slight chance of snow, maybe a little bit of rain. Partly sunny in the afternoon, highs around 52. For tonight, going to see some clouds, lows around 32. Mostly sunny for tomorrow and a high near 54. Going to see a little bit of wind as well, partly cloudy for Thursday night, lows of 34. Then sunshine and 60 for Friday, clearing up and looking really, really well throughout the rest of the week. That is your weather with Zab at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Scotty. Thank you so much. Good job. And, of course, brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 336 South, 450 West of Paul, 431-8733. We'll take some more calls, 436-2244. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget, too, the 44th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. Oh, this is a fun event. Oh, my goodness. I know a lot of people in this area go up to it, whether they're buying mules or horses or just want to be a part of everything that's going on. And it's going to be April 6th through the 10th at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. They're going to have mule shows, and they're going to have a mule sale Calcutta, and they're going to have all kinds of packing clinics and cow cutting and barrel race. Oh my goodness, the list goes on, along with the mule and the horse sales. Holy smokes, 44th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale, April 6th through the 10th up in Salmon. Really nice people up there. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I get up at 3:45 in the morning, and I love what I do. But you know what? The older you get, it's not easy getting up at 3:45 in the morning. Why do I get up so early? Because it takes that long to get everything ready for this program. And other people, like the gentleman that just called a moment ago, past retirement age if he wanted to retire, but we have to keep going, and there's many of us that didn't salt away a lot of money that we can retire in a comfortable mode that we're accustomed to or want to live in. But yet, our money is going to help deadbeats and derelicts, and I'll use that terminology, not in all cases. Please understand, I didn't say all, and I don't want an accusatory call after the program saying, oh, you said we're all deadbeats, and no, I didn't. There are those that need the help. There are those that need the assistance. And there are those that absolutely work the system to their advantage so they don't have to do a doggone thing. Those are the ones I'm after. And I'm sick and tired of people working the system so they can sit back on your dime and mine. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, in a related story, and I've got to get this in here real quick, if you get a chance, pick up a March 29th, yesterday, USA Today, and go to the business section, and there is an outstanding article written in there by Peter Dunn. And here's the gist of what the article, here's the headline. Hey, mooching adult sons and daughters, knock it off. It is one of the best written articles on kids taking advantage of their parents, not only through college, but also into their 20s, into their 30s. And basically, Peter Dunn says, knock it off, grow up, and start to fend for yourself. It is an outstanding article. And if you get a chance to read it, I'll just read a little paragraph to you so you can get the gist of what he says. Unless your expenses and your lifestyle were literally forced on you, you are why you have expenses you can't afford. An $80,000 diploma. Your financial problems are your problem, not your parents' problem, not society's problem, and certainly not the government's problem. The longer you deny whose problem it is, the longer it will remain a problem. I love this article. I read it, I highlighted it, I'm going to keep it. And for any millennials out there that cry, I've got a whole bunch of college debt, or I can't do this, and I'm in debt up to my ears. It's your own doggone fault. Get to work. I don't care if you have to flip 3 jobs flipping hamburgers. Whew, I feel better. Don't forget Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street, which is Alfresco Road in Heyburn. And he can rebuild your starters, alternators, and generators and fix everything from lawnmowers to choo-choo trains. And he also sells brand new. Hey, call for an appointment. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. I guess I'm kind of running everybody through the grinder this morning. Oh, a very sad story. And I enjoyed this lady and what she did as an actress. And she resided in northern Idaho. Patty Duke died yesterday at a way too young age of 69. And I understand her health was not the best. And our condolences go out to her and the family because it's just absolutely sad. She was a great actress. Won an Academy Award, I think, and out of memory, I'm hoping I get this right, for the Helen Keller story. And lived up in northern Idaho. I understand that her family, they really enjoyed horses and everything. And I think it was around Coeur d'Alene, as a matter of fact. But we absolutely say our condolences. Oh, and listen to this. Many, many school districts across the United States are saying, Mama Obama, we're done with you. We don't like your menu. The kids don't like the food. They're throwing the food in the trash, and they're wasting a lot of money, so we're going to go back and devise our own school lunch programs that the kids will eat, and they'll get something that'll stay in their tummies until late in the afternoon. Great. Many school districts are saying, we don't care about your federal money. We don't care about anything but our kids. They're not getting enough to eat under your program. The food looks like I can't say that on the radio. And so we're going to devise our own programs. Kudos to them. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, I am blessed to have all 7 of them working with us and for us on this program. Thank you so much. And, of course, they've got all the tires. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Many of which are on sale right now, like the Proxys ST2. Woo, yeah, let me tell you something. This is great for your pickup and SUVs. All-season traction, superior handling tire. And very convenient credit terms are available, too. The best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, brake service extraordinaire, and batteries. All 7 locations locations serving you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got 1 minute left. Go ahead.
The price of college is way too high if that's how much they're charging, and how ridiculously poor the college professors are.
Well, it's not just the fault of the college, though, Chris. It's also the fault of the students and the parents, and I'll tell you why. A lot of these kids, and many of them, are going to school with no idea what they want to do, how they want to get there, and what they want to achieve. Many of them are going not to be students, but to be professional activists, and this is where I draw the line. Many of them don't belong in college.
Right. No, I think that college means something to you when you've worked a couple of years before you go, and it's your dime that you're spending.
I did.
I did too.
Yep.
I played 1 year and got bad grades, and my dad said, well, little girl, I paid for the first year. It's all on you.
Are you sure you're not my sister? Because I did the same thing.
Well, I think that you get a taste of what college is. And actually, the taste that you taste is probably the fun. And then, well, it was in my case. And then you go back and you get serious, especially if it's your money.
Absolutely. Chris, I got to run to the news. You can hear the old clock a chiming. I got to run, and thank you so much. God bless.
Bye.
Amen. I got to go to the news from CBS, and we want to remind you to leave the dial right here. Zeb at the Ranch. Dave Bigo coming up next hour, along with a friend of mine that I haven't talked to for a long time. He's been in the announcing business too, rodeos, horse shows, etc. Vic Carmen down in Arizona. I'm going to be visiting with him about what old announcers do. So stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and, of course, also some of our great advertisers. Let's talk about them right now. Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the gorgeous shores of Western Waste Services. We care about our community, our resources, and Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness sakes, you need a dumpster. Are you going to be cleaning something up or cleaning something out like your basement? Oh, you just kind of pitched and threw everything in there during the winter, or maybe your garage. Oh, boy, I know Deanne would love to have a dumpster out in front of that garage and say, Zeb, get to work. Well, whatever you need, they've got dumpsters in different sizes, available for 1 day, 1 week, or a month. You choose. I'll tell you what, give them a call. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. By the way, every morning on the program, we start at 8:06 with the weather forecast, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, and the number 678-6945. Look for the blue door, and be sure and stop in for all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, everything Cheney Flooring and Home Design. We'll be with our guest in just a moment, but right now I also want to remind you about some really, really nice, conscientious, caring people at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, a man that I really admire, a great personality, and his family and the staff always serving others in a real time of need. When there's the passing of a loved one, everybody is just, they're thrown into a Ferris wheel of events that's going on. They don't know how to get everything done, the time factor and everything. Please let them help. Number to call, 436-5636. Always serving you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very, very honored to have a dear friend of mine back on the program from Indianapolis, Indiana. And I got to admit, I just in the last couple of seconds, have been handed his latest blog on The Devil at Our Doorstep. And Dave Bego, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Well, not too bad, except that yesterday, as you may or may not have heard, right here in Magic Valley, here at my place, we had about 9 inches of snow. Some places had 11 inches of snow, and others reported well over 15 inches of snow. So it wasn't exactly a smiley day yesterday.
Well, all I can say, Zeb, is I'm happy for you and that it wasn't us.
You know, and there's something else I want to say to you. You don't get a bottle of wine. Of course, neither do I.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
Indiana got throttled, and Wisconsin made a game of it. I thought they were going to take it, but both teams are at home watching the Final Four this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I was hoping you and I would have an opportunity to have a little side wager and enjoy our teams, but I'm in a pool here at the office, and I've got Syracuse, so I've got somebody to root for.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, I picked Oklahoma to win it all, and we'll see what happens. Dave, I honestly have not had a chance to read your latest blog called There Should Have Been an Autopsy, so I'm going to let you give us a little background on this blog and tell us what it contains and what the point is.
Well, yesterday, I don't know if you heard or many of your listeners have, but the Supreme Court went ahead and made the decision on the Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association. Supreme Court I wrote a blog on right after Scalia's death, and the fact that it was kind of a odd timing on the whole thing, because Scalia, based on the January 11th hearing, would have been the 5-4 deciding vote in favor of Friedrichs, which is some teachers out there that don't believe they should have to pay fees or dues to the union because they don't want to be part of it. And if it would have passed like it was expected to in a vote on June 1st, the unions across the country would have taken a big hit on union dues because what this was based on was freedom of speech. And what the Supreme Court was basically saying, people have a right to their own freedom of speech and not having to be indebted to the unions. And the big labor bosses would have lost millions and millions of dollars in dues money, and so would the Democratic Party. Again, this was supposed to be started June 1st, voted on June 1st. It was moved up to yesterday, and of course, it ended up in a tie, which it reverted back to the Ninth Court in California,
right,
and their decision, which was in favor of the unions. And Zeb, this just all seems very strange, because if you look at this thing, January 11th was when they had the hearing. It looked like they were going to vote in favor of Friedrich. February 13th, Scalia passed away at a ranch in Texas that was owned by a Democratic Obama backer. And then less than about a month and a half later now, the Supreme Court went ahead and moved on this decision in favor of the unions and the Democratic Party. And here's the bottom line. The death was suspicious, and there was never an autopsy done on it, despite the fact that a lot of people thought there should have been. And when you put it all together, it really makes you wonder what happened.
Absolutely. You know, you kind of gave me a chill when I was listening to you there. I guess, you know, we've had our instances out here in Idaho with the extremely liberal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And it doesn't surprise me at all that when it was reverted back from the Supreme Court to go to them, how the vote went. But the moving up factor really surprises me when most dockets, most court case dockets documents are filled. The moving ahead really surprises me, and the question comes to mind, why? Why was there such a rush prior to June?
Well, and I talk about this in my blog, by the way, which the name of it is There Should Have Been an Autopsy. My speculation is, and I think the speculation of others is that the unions and the Democratic Party want to get this resolved because they need the money, and they got to make sure they have the money in their pockets to continue their agenda of force unionizing people across the country. And to do that, they have to have a successful elections this fall for the Democratic Party, and they want to pour this money into the election process for the Democratic Party and also get their foot soldiers out on the ground to sway the election in favor of the Democrats.
You know, this is just sick, and it leads more to the sleaziness of politics in general in this country on both sides of the aisle, Republican and or Democrat. And if this is the kind of sleaze that politics is going to bring not only into politics itself but also the business world, this is pathetic where we are in America today.
Well, you're exactly right, and I'm glad you said that, because the last sentence of my blog, I say, America needs politicians, big labor bosses, and businessmen that are transparent, ethical, moral, and work for the betterment of all Americans and the United States of America instead of their own agenda.
Absolutely. We've got a caller with a comment. Go ahead quickly, caller. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yes, Dave, I was just curious. There's four conservative so-called justices on the calendar. I thought that was who decides what they listen to hear and when they hear it. And then also another thing quickly while I got you. This thing with Trump and Cruz and how they're attacking each other, and ultimately in the end, we need to win. With the election, and I just want you to comment when you can. And I don't want to end up with Kasich. I think he's, I don't know. I'll let you comment. I'll hang up.
Dave, address that if you would, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, I meant to continue my comment a minute ago about why the timing on this changed, and I refer back to a case about 4 years ago when the U.S. Supreme Court had the opportunity to protect fundamental freedoms of employees by hearing a case on big labor's neutrality agreement. And just to refresh everybody's memory, the neutrality agreement is what the SEIU wanted me to sign, which would have taken away the secret ballot election process and go to card check. And in that, you have to give a list of all your employees and their home addresses so the union can go out and force people to sign union cards and force unionize them. And I was the only major cleaning company that would not sign that. And there was a case that came up on this that exposed the neutrality agreement, and the U.S. Supreme Court, after reviewing it and looking at it, and quite honestly, Zeb, I sent them information. I sent them copies of my book because I wanted them to understand what was really going on in that. The Supreme Court refused to hear the case and sent it back to the circuit court where it was struck down. And my feeling is, just as my feeling is now, is that Justice Roberts has been intimidated by the administration and big labor bosses and other people to do what they want him to do, just like he was back then.
I can't dispute that statement whatsoever. As a matter of fact, while you were talking, I was sitting here thinking that politics today and bureaucracy in general is such that it's either our way, little American male or female, or your history. We will step on you like a bug. This is the feeling that people are having with politics right now today. I think that's one of the reasons why Trump is so popular. The general public is sick and tired of having that bug on the windshield attitude.
Well, that's really what it's all about. People are worried about this country, and one of the last, my last sentence, I did end up saying, "Wake up, America! We're at war. Armageddon is at hand. Please wake up." And that's a blog I wrote about, the fact that, the far left is trying to fundamentally destroy this country. And Trump is standing up, and to answer your caller, I think Trump is standing up. I think we need a businessman in the White House. I think Cruz is taking unfair shots at him and accusing him of things like on the wife's situation and all that kind of stuff. And but having said that, I think both of them, especially whoever the potential candidate is, I think they have to polish up their act, and yes, they have to expose the other side, but you do it in a professional manner. You don't do it in the way they're doing it, and you expose the other side for their back tactics and who they really are.
I absolutely agree with what you just said, and I would fight for what you just said. Personally, what I'd like to do and be able to do is go get a former heavyweight boxing champ, whether it's Foreman, whether it's Ali, or whomever, and say, okay, now listen, Trump and Cruz, we're going to go into this 8x8 room. You're going to have your chair on this wall. Trump, you're going to have your chair on this wall. Now, if you don't clean up your act, we're going to go 3 punches with each from Muhammad Ali or Foreman until you get your attitude and your personality adjusted. What they're doing to politics and what they're doing to professionalism is throwing it in the gutter.
Well, that's exactly right. And, I know they're attracting some people because Americans are fed up with what's going on in Washington, and that's why you see some of these things coming out. But what they don't understand is once we get past the nomination stage and we get into the general election, is that the unions are going to have their foot soldiers out there, and they're going to be really going after people and, lying to them, misinformation, rhetoric, intimidation tactics to get them not to vote for, Trump or Cruz, whoever it is. And and then they're going to point out the fact that these people are coarse people and, they're saying bad things and all that. And you have to have a candidate out there that turns that completely around and shows it's the unions that are doing the wrong thing and the other party, the far left. And, that's what I did when I fought the SEIU, and it worked.
Dave, let me ask you this. What are the ramifications or repercussions to anyone else in the future, like this school teacher, that had the moxie and the toughness to stand up and fight the unions? Basically, it makes the others kind of cringe in fear for what's going to happen to them and how they're going to get smeared, does it not?
Well, not only that, yes, exactly. But not only that, it's going to discourage people from even filing these things because they look at it as a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
And I think, again, because of this election cycle and all the potential problems that it could create for the union bosses and the Democratic Party, they wanted to remedy this now, and they wanted to basically prohibit people from going out and trying it again. Where I think what should have happened is Chief Justice Roberts should have pushed back, and this vote should have been delayed until we have a new president.
I agree.
And that president has put in a new Supreme Court justice.
Absolutely. Dave, on another related matter, and I want you to comment on this because it's not funny at all. A man's life and his livelihood is at stake, and I'm talking about Corey Lewandowski, the campaign manager for Donald Trump. I have looked at personally these tapes of the so-called assault against Michelle Fields at least 30 times, and I've looked at the still photos at least that a number of times, and I think that this lawsuit against Lewandowski is absolutely frivolous, it's absolutely stupid, and it's been distorted. I think it's nothing more than a slam against the Trump administration. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's just another one of their tactics the far left uses. Remember, I've talked about this before, death by 1,000 cuts, and using power of, instead of the power of persuasion, the persuasion of power. And this is what they do, and all they're trying to do is they'll come at you from so many different angles to try and get you to back down and fold your tent. And that's what all this stuff is, Zeb, and this is what Trump and Cruz have to understand, and they have to take a step back and not set themselves up for this stuff, too. And that's why I say you got to be more professional about it, because again, as I went through it, I made sure we didn't do anything that, provided a target for them.
Well, I agree with you there, but like I said, I watched the videos and I watched the tapes, and I think it's nothing more than a frivolous attempt to go after this administration, and especially this man, Trump, with all of his money. That being said, you alluded to this a little bit ago in our conversation, that we've got to clean up the sleaze in politics, and I found that what Cruz had said and what Kasich had said in regards to this story was absolutely... It was not called for. They're jumping on somebody, and I don't think they should have done what they did. I don't think they should have said what they said, and I think it lowered their stature to most of the voting public.
Well, absolutely, and we don't need that type of politics out there, and we need professionalism, and we need people that understand how to address the American public at all levels, all ethnic backgrounds, all religious backgrounds, and that, and not just use attack mode to trying to achieve their agenda. And I hope they wake up, Zeb. I really do.
With that being said, though, I hope they wake up. Dave, with all of your political expertise and running a huge business and everything, do you think for either party, the Democrats or the Republicans, that somewhere on either side of the aisle there's a great big knight in shining armor ready to run to the forefront and take over for the absolute lack of good leadership, whether it's Hillary and Bernie or whether it's Trump and Cruz and Kasich? Do you think there's somebody else?
I don't know, Zeb. It's hard to say anymore. We got so many people that are involved in this for their own agendas, and you'd like to see people that come out and just speak truthfully and do what's right for America, and spend their time doing that, and then go back to the private workforce. And it just seems like we don't have people that want to step up and fight this battle, because it is expensive, it takes a long time, and a lot of people don't want to go through the mudslinging.
One last thought, though. I want to go back to what we were talking a little bit ago about the Supreme Court, kind of deadlocked right now, if you will, on a 4-4 split. Do you think that the Republicans should weaken or are going to weaken on the possible listening to the hearing on the nominee from Obama?
I don't think they should weaken. I think that they should have a firm backbone and, move this thing down the road. The Democrats would do it, that for sure. And they've even done that in the past. And, they're just slinging mud and trying to make the Republicans look bad and to weaken their spines. And we need people to stand up and say, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We're going to investigate this whole thing first, and we're going to make sure we know what happened in this case, and then we'll move ahead down the road and look at, potential people for the Supreme Court.
All right, we've got to end this on a little bit lighter note here this morning. Earlier, we talked about your Indiana and my Wisconsin teams going out of the tournament, and you said, oh, goody, I've still got Syracuse. Let me tell you something, my old friend. I don't know if I'd really be too high on Syracuse going into the Final Four. Do you honestly think they have a shot?
I really don't, and I'm not a big Syracuse fan. By the way, I did not pick them. This was a blind draw that I got them on, and I'm not a real Boeheim fan anyway, but, if they win, I will certainly take the spoils of victory.
All right, but now you got to pick a winner. I'm going to pick a winner. You're going to pick a winner. The bottle of wine deal is still in effect. Go for it, Mr. Bigo.
Well, I think North Carolina is going to win it.
Okay. Being true to the colors of red and white, of course, being former Wisconsin colors, Oklahoma wears the same. I am going to say that Oklahoma will upset North Carolina in the championship game. And yes, let us know when UPS will deliver the wine.
And I'll let you know when you can have it delivered to me, too.
All right, Dave Vigo, Indianapolis, Indiana. God bless you, man. Thanks for a great program this morning. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and you take care, and be careful in the snow out there.
I will, my friend. Thank you very, very much. There's a guy that I have a lot of respect for, a great businessman and author of 2 books, The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, and his weekly blog. He knows business and what's going on with the unions here in the United States. I want to remind you that if you have plumbing problems, oh my goodness, you got a leak and a drip, and you've got problems with the water line, and your water heater's not working. Oh my goodness, call a plumber. Who do you call? Harris Plumbing NG. For all your plumbing service needs, don't forget, one call, that's it. Done. Finicio. Nathan Harris does the job at Harris Plumbing NG. He's worked for us, and I'll guarantee you he can get the job done for you. 431-8633. Harris Plumbing NG. You get a hold of him today. By the way, I want to remind you, are you looking for furniture? Are you looking for maybe a new bedroom set? Are you looking for maybe a new living room set of furniture? You know, the sofa and the chairs and the end tables and everything. Well, look no further than Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. My goodness sakes, I got a piece of paper here that it shows everything on there. You can save a bundle of money by going in there right now. They carry all the name brands. And for instance, I suggest you go in and check out their expanded sleep center. All the mattresses, all the bedroom sets. There is nothing better than a good night's sleep. You will rest comfortable knowing that you went to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. By the way, too, that snow we had yesterday kind of put a crimp in my style for a couple of days of getting out and doing some roping, and the arena's underneath a whole bunch of snow, and then tomorrow they anticipate that it's going to be underneath a whole bunch of water. It's going to start melting really fast with temperatures getting up into the mid-60s, even to the 70s in the next couple of days. So stand by. You got a boat? Get ready to use it. Don't forget, let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh my goodness, they've got all the ATVs. And I mean that literally. You go in the showroom and just open the door and stand there, look to the left, look to the right. Oh my, what a selection. And all the accessories too. They've got all the street bikes, dirt bikes. They've got the ATVs. Oh yeah, this is the place. And very knowledgeable people over there to help you. It is where the fun is sold. And I want to remind you, now's the time to get everything serviced. Your ATVs, dirt bikes, boats, and everything. Get them in there. Call for an appointment at 436-4771. Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And while you're over in that area, one must never forget to make sure you're covered with your insurance programs. And that's, of course, meaning you stop in and see our good friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, yep, check mark. Health insurance, yep, check mark. Retirement planning, employee benefits. You better make sure everything's covered for you, your family, and your business. These folks are dedicated and responsive to your needs, so please take Oval Zeb's advice, 436-4424. That's the number to call for an appointment at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. And besides that, they're really doggone nice people, too. Well, when I talk about doggone nice people, I have known this next gentleman that's on my program for well over 40 years. Holy smokes, we're getting to be antiques. And I told him one time when I saw him last summer in Boise, Nampa it was, I told him, you know something, Vic, I'm going to give you a call and have you on my program, and we'll sit down like two old has-beens, and we'll talk about the announcing business and everything else. Vic Carman from Arizona and Idaho, good morning and welcome to the program.
Well, good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I am fantastic. How's everything down in the land of sunshine?
Well, we're going to be 70 today and 90 next week, so we're fine.
You know, that's one part. What part of Arizona? You live down in the Tucson area, don't you?
Well, I I did when I was rodeoing, but now we're in Sun City, near Phoenix.
Sun City. Now, there's a certain time that it's good to get out of Arizona, and that's coming up here pretty quick, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Beverly and I will be leaving here, in about 3 or 4 weeks and coming back to Boise.
You know, I, for years, did not know that you were born in Boise and returned here in the summer months, etc. But, you know, you and I, like I said when I opened up this segment, we've known each other for a long, long time with the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, etc. How did you get your start in the announcing business, Vic?
Well, it's very simple. I was the worst calf roper in the state of Arizona. They said I was funnier than the Climax. I don't know what they meant by that. But anyway, I got out of college, and I figured I either had to find something in rodeo to do or else get a real job. And I certainly didn't want to do that. But as you know, we all work very hard at those jobs, other jobs, until we kind of get discovered and can announce enough to do it for a living. So I worked real hard to avoid work.
You know, and the funny part of it is, like I said, we've known each other for over 40 years, but I'm sure that you can remember all the conventions we used to have in Denver at the Brown Palace and then out at Stauffer's and the up and down the hallways, chasing the committees and trying to sell yourself for the job. I'm glad those days are over. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was tough. If life were just announcing a rodeo performance, it would be heaven. But getting the jobs and keeping them is a real pain.
Are you sorry that you chose that as a career? I can say from my standpoint that I was blessed. I had an opportunity to not only do a lot of great rodeos, but I had a chance to go all over the world, literally, on an expense-paid ticket. What are your thoughts? Are you sad or happy you chose that?
Well, I'm happy. It's one of those things that I think Mahan said I wouldn't take anything for it, but wouldn't want to have to go do it again because it was pretty tough. But yeah, you're right. We're really blessed. And it segued me into the horse show business. I did rodeos for 25 years, and I've been doing the horse shows for 25 years, as you did yourself. Now, I never got to the NFR like you did, but I always wanted to just announce and be around, and I wanted to be a cowboy when I was a kid, and it worked out great.
You know, Vic, don't sell yourself short. You've done a lot of great things in your career, and you're also a great writer, and you wrote many, many great articles about rodeo and horses in general. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get started writing for various publications?
Well, I met Bill Crawford when he came into the business at Pro Rodeo Sports News. He had been a novelist, and he was hired to be the editor of Pro Rodeo Sports News, and I got to meet him. And he said, well, why don't you do a column for us on the contract business? And so I started doing that. And then he was quite a character. Ken Stemler was publisher. And Bill had been in the office straight without a vacation for like 3 years. And they told him if he didn't take a vacation, they were going to gang up on him and kill him because he was driving everybody crazy. So he got a hold of me and said, would you please come in here and run the paper for a while so I could take a vacation? And Zeb, that was just a fabulous experience. It was like a crash course in the journalism school. And I learned so much, and it was so much fun. My first summer, I was there for 6 weeks and put out 2 or 3 issues. And then I went back the next year for a couple, 3 weeks or something like that. And it was just great. I learned so very much, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. I hauled a typewriter down the road in my little compact car, and when I was on the road, where I would write things and mail them in, you know. And then when I'd go to the office, I'd stay in his house there while he was on vacation. He was a great guy.
You know, and it's interesting how your career and my career are so similar. I mean, I love to write with my blogs, and I'm working on finishing my book. The only thing that we do not share in common is that I don't like to work with my hands, and you are an accomplished leather man and saddle maker. How did you get started doing that?
Well, I used to hang around the saddle shops in Nampa, Idaho, because that's where the cowboys were. And I wanted to, my folks were not into this. They didn't know things, so I kind of had to sneak around a little bit. But But I learned on that. I'm going to have to say I'm really not a saddle maker, Zeb. I play around with it a little bit, but there are some great saddle makers. In fact, there's some great saddle makers in Idaho. But I would not be among them. But I do beat on a little bit of leather. In fact, when I leave this interview, I'm going to go to the Sun City Leather Club. There's about 75 members in that club, and we go down there and drink coffee and talk and do leather work and have a great time.
You know, when you look back on your career, and you're still going, you're still doing horse shows, and you do a lot of the Arabian horse shows, do you not?
No, I do hunter and jumper. Now, I have done Arabian horse shows. When I first got into horse show business, I did everything. Saddle horse shows and quarter horse shows and hunter and jumper and everything. But the hunters and jumpers, frankly, are the ones that can really afford professional staff. I don't do as much as I used to do. At one time, I did 42 weeks a year in the horse show business.
Right.
And you think about that. I'd fly from Vermont to San Diego and then back again. It was just unbelievable. You said a little while ago who was so fortunate. Well, I'd say I've been blessed. It's just been unbelievable. And Beverly and I are keeping in here now, but the situation now is I'm kind of semi-retired. The marketplace does that to you when you get to be a certain age. When I went into the horse show business in the late 70s, early 80s, there weren't maybe only 4 or 5 horse show announcers in the country that could work a crowd like you and I can. Now, there are probably 25 or 30 of them. So, as you know, your success sort of builds competition, and now I've been replaced. Besides, a lot of the horse show announcers now also have judges' cards in the jumper division. So I never did do that. So I'm happy. I've probably got 25 weeks of work this year, and in fact, we're going to be at I think the first ever nationally approved horse show at Nampa here in May. I got 3 performances for the Boise Saddle and Jump Club, and that's going to be quite a big step forward for the state of Idaho.
You know, it's such a transition, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me. You talk about a rodeo, you talk about 3 performances, 4 performances, 6, whatever the number might be, and you've got basically about 2.5 hours of high energy, high octane, really working the crowd, excitement, and then maybe the next day you fly to a horse show like I did. I would leave rodeo, and then I'd fly to Oklahoma City and do the World Quarter Horse Show. It's a completely different temperament, and you really got to put yourself in a shell, don't you?
Exactly right. Of the 50 years, there were about 4 or 5 years where I would do what you're talking about. I'd overlap. I'd do a horse show one week and a rodeo the next, and boy, that was really, really tough. In the horse show business, most of my jobs are 5 days. And on 4 of those days, I'm just part of a production crew. My announcing is really more record-keeping. The announcing part is like dispatching taxi cabs or something. It's nothing special at all. But then on the last day, we do a spectator performance, and I kind of do that like a rodeo. Or, for some of the managers I work for, they don't like that. So they put me in the hunter ring, and they have a different type of person do the Grand Prix. It's just kind of different, working in different places for different people, but it's all good.
You know, it is all good, but then on the other hand, I got to tell you something, Vic. I'm 68 years old right now, and my legs are gone, but I do not miss the travel. I do not miss the all-night drives. I do not miss running to an airport, hoping I can get the rental car back in time to catch a flight. I do not miss all the motels and hotels, and I do not miss all the bad food. What are your thoughts about that?
I love every minute of it. I really do. I get a kick out of it. But, you know, working for these big horse shows is a lot different. They give you time to do things. I stay over on the Monday and fly back then. I almost never drive anywhere because I can't get there fast enough. I do drive to a horse show over in Oregon over Memorial Day for some nice people. But basically, they fly, pay all the freight. I don't mind the motels. They put us in nice places. They treat me great. And I enjoy it.
Well, I think the basic thing I didn't like at the tail end of my career before I retired last year was the fact of the travel. The travel is something I don't think a lot of people realize. It can really get you down.
Well, it's tiring, and the older I get, probably the more it does bother me. But But when I was a little kid in Nampa, that was a big railroad town. I used to love to go to the railroad depot and see people come and go and everything like that. Well, the airport's the same way. It's just like a people watching thing. And I've got my books to read on the airplane, and I just love the travel part. It doesn't bother me at all. Now, I know in rodeo we did almost drive everywhere. That's the stuff.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. What do you think about our profession today? 40 years ago, when we were saying howdy to each other going up and down the hallways of either the Brown Palace or wherever it was, 40 years ago, there weren't that many of us, if you want to look at it that way. Now it seems like there's a lot of kids climbing out from underneath the rocks and out of the woodwork. What do you think about our profession today? Has it really changed a lot?
Yeah. When you and I were going, a rodeo announcer's job was twofold. He was to educate and entertain, and neither one of those jobs had precedence over the other. Nowadays, it's almost all entertainment. The education thing has dropped off. And I know I talked to Kay Blakely about 7 or 8 years ago, and she said, "Are you thinking about ever coming back?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, that's good, because the job has changed now. It's all just a very loud, a very high energy, as you say, and all that loud music and everything. And there's no finesse about it anymore. It's kind of like a tractor pull. But you can't complain about success. The people that are going now are very good at what they do, and I enjoy listening to them. And that's kind of the same reason, the same thing I was talking about a little earlier. In the horse show business, sometimes they put me in the Grand Prix ring, and sometimes in the hunter ring, because I still announce Grand Prix with the entertain and educate. I talk a lot about things that people who've never been to a horse show would be interested in. Some managers like that, but some managers don't. And so but in the horse show business, I've got another place to go. I can go over where it's quiet and have a good day.
Let me ask you this question, and I just thought about this when you were making those comments, Vic. Do you think that today, in today's age of announcing special events, horse events, rodeos, etc., that the likes of Cy Talon, Pete Logan, Chuck Parkinson, and those type of people, would they be successful like they were in the old days?
No. But things change. A good friend of mine, I asked him one time, I said, "Mike, what is the secret of life?" And he said, "It's being able to adapt to change." I about fell over. I didn't think he was that smart. But I don't think they would. I think people, if you and I went back out on the road again, I think we'd have a hard time keeping up. I really do.
The people that I've met, and I'll end the segment like this, Vic, the people that I've met over the years, those are the most valued and treasured memories that I have. I've met people in every walks of life, politics, Hollywood, you name it, and I will never forget any or all of them. They're all very special to me, and in my office where I am right now, my walls are filled with people that I really appreciated their friendship. I bet you feel the same way.
Yes, I do, and I've been helped by so many people. In 1967, Steve Wagner got me hooked up with Bob Nordham and the Big Sky Rodeo Company. Bob passed away last week, as a matter of fact. And they gave me my chance to buy a TRCA, well, then the RCA card. They asked me, said, "Well, would you buy a card if they gave you 2 rodeos this summer?" I said, "Yes, I would." Well, I had almost all of them that they had the whole summer, and that was the start of everything. And Bob Barnes was great to me as well, and I've made a million friends, and I look back on it now. And, Jeb, I kind of like the role of being the old retired guy. I kind of like that. It's a lot easier on your body than going out and being a current star.
No, I couldn't agree more. I'm hoping that we get a chance to see you up in Nampa, maybe at midsummer at the Extreme Mustang Makeover where you were last year. I'm going to be back there, and we'll get a chance to let you buy me a cup of coffee.
All right, sir, we'll do that.
Vic, I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. Best wishes to you on an extended career with your horse shows and everything else down there in Arizona and also in Boise. Thanks for taking the time to come on my program this morning.
No problem, boss. And when I see you, I'll take some measurements and knock you out a belt.
It'd have to be a big belt. I'm not getting any smaller, I'll tell you that.
I know the feeling.
Vic, thank you so much. God blessings to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Vic Carmen, good friend of mine, and he's been in this business like I have for almost a half a century. And, wow, I mean, that puts a lot of memories right there. Half a century of traveling all over the United States, Canada, and for that matter, foreign countries and everything. It's been a heck of a ride. And he's been right there doing the same thing I do. Calls are welcome and appreciated, and right now we got to have the weather. I'm kind of running a little bit late here this morning, and the weather is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, all of this and more through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459, and Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money on Lennox. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, we finally made it through Snowpocalypse 2016. Time now for your weather here at Zab at the Ranch. For today, looks like a slight chance of snow, maybe a little bit of rain. Partly sunny in the afternoon, highs around 52. For tonight, going to see some clouds, lows around 32. Mostly sunny for tomorrow and a high near 54. Going to see a little bit of wind as well, partly cloudy for Thursday night, lows of 34. Then sunshine and 60 for Friday, clearing up. I'm looking really, really well throughout the rest of the week. That is your weather with Zeb at the Ranch.
Did a good job there, Scotty. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ramsey Heating and Electric can offer rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps, your family will enjoy Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Caller, good morning, and thank you for your call.
Oh, yeah, I got a snow update for you here up in Albion. I measured it at around 8 o'clock this morning, and it said 20 inches.
Woo.
But I was up at 4, and it was raining. And then it started snowing again after that. But I figured there's probably got to be at least 21 inches, because I'm sure the rain melted at least an inch of it.
I'll tell you one thing, with all this snow, you up there at Albion and us down here in the valley, if all of a sudden, like they're calling for tomorrow and through the weekend, temperatures maybe even getting up into the 70s, I hope you can swim.
Well, I was here about 4 or 5 years ago and did about the same thing, and I was building all kinds of dams, diverting water.
Well, you better have a sharp shovel, because you're going to be out there again. Thanks for that snow update. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a good day. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
You bet. You know, yesterday I sat here in the house and I had a gazillion things I wanted to do outside. And, man alive. You know, with my old bum hip and everything, trying to get around on flat surfaces, it's not the best. But yesterday, trying to go out and feed and get through the snow drifts and everything, I finally just wanted to sit down on a big old pile of snow and just say the heck with it. Holy smokes, there was a lot of snow out there. And like I said just a minute ago, the weather forecast caller, like you heard Scotty, it's going to get really nice. The sun is going to come out, and I dare say that we'd be able to put a little bitty boat up by my roping box, and we'd be able to probably float all the way down to the bottom end. Holy smokes, is it going to get wet. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. I'd love to hear from you about any of the topics that we've discussed so far this morning. And while I'm waiting for your call that I'm sure is coming in, I'm going to tell you about this. Cutting Edge Curbing. 424 16th Street in Rupert. Now, they've got 2 telephone numbers to call. Write these down, 808-3360 or 260-2583. Sarah and Mike Baxter, and they can provide estimates right now on how to add beauty and value to your property through curbing. Oh my goodness, they got different colors and the different stampage on the curbing. Oh, it is beautiful. You're going to love it, and you should call them right now. Make an appointment time to have them work for you. Cutting Edge Curbing, 424 16th Street in Rupert. Number again, 808-3360 or 260-2583. Your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I mentioned I didn't have a lot of time the first hour, and I was mentioning this article that was in USA Today written by Peter Dunn about kids stop mooching off your parents. This is one of the very first times in USA Today that I've seen an article that was basically on the conservative vein, if you will. Normally, USA Today is very liberal. But this Peter Dunn had an excellent article in there about parents, wean your kids off of your money. And I'll read you another excerpt on this because I think it bears covering. When your parents give you money to support yourself, every French fry, beer, or sandwich you consume is not yours to consume. That's your mom's beer, your dad's French fry, and your mom's sandwich. Every song you download, every movie you watch, every mile you drive belongs to your parents. And this guy really goes into how parents have got to cut off their kids from the money tree. And at the end of the story in the USA Today yesterday, he says, your parents want to cut you off but are afraid to. You have to be the adult. It's not good enough to stop asking for money. You must also tell them you don't need their money anymore. A lot of 20-plus and 30-plus and even into the 40s are moving back home and living off mom and dad's money and ruining their retirement, their chance for the happiness of the golden years. And this article was called, Hey, Mooching Adult, Sons and Daughters, Knock It Off. How true. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Tomorrow, I got just a moment here, and tomorrow on the program, I want to mention this before I go any further. We are going to have Tawny Crane on the program at 10:30 tomorrow. And you may not be aware as to who she is, and I think it's absolutely admirable of her and her husband, Lyden Crane. Tawny is the daughter of Lavoy Finicum that was shot and killed up in Oregon. And he had a book before he passed away. He had written a book. It's an excellent book. And Tawny's going to be on the program tomorrow at 10:30 to discuss the thoughts of her father in that book. So don't miss that tomorrow at 10:30. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, where can I get a copy of that story you were just talking about?
Which one?
I want to send it to my sister.
It's in yesterday's. You should be able to get it, maybe if they still have some of the copies, of USA Today in the money section. And it's called Pete the Planner, and Peter Dunn is the author, and it's in yesterday's USA Today.
Okay, I'll try and find it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call back. Excellent article. And that's just one of the things that's going on tomorrow, along with all of our other segments, Cassia County School Days. And by the way, I got to check this out here real quick. We've got an elementary teacher from Raft River Elementary coming on the program tomorrow. I believe she's the 5th grade teacher, Angie Spencer, and she's going to talk about blended learning tomorrow during Cassia County School Days, and that's going to be at 10:10 tomorrow morning. We've got a whole bunch of things that are going to happen tomorrow on our Thursday program, so don't miss a minute of it. Coming up next hour, you will, I think, find very interesting Curtis Ellis. He's been on our program before from WorldNet Daily, and he's going to talk about how terrorism and the TPP trade agreement actually intertwine and why both of them are so negative. And then at 10:30 this morning, I'm really looking forward to the interview with Representative Fred Wood. Fred is in every sense of the word, a very straight shooter. He's going to tell it like it is. He's going to talk about the legislative session that just ended. He's going to tell about the good things, the bad things, and some of the things that didn't get settled. So we're going to have all that coming up at 10:30 with Representative Fred Wood this morning, and your calls would be appreciated if you want to call in. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. Old Wheels is going to send us to CBS News coming up in just a few minutes, and we'll be back in about 6. Zeb at the Ranch, don't you go away. Oh my, here we go, last hour for the Zeb at the Ranch program. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning. And of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you very well with the best in tires and brake service, etc. They're the best. And along with some of our great advertisers, let's not forget Western Way Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment. Don't forget again, Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair Service at 635 21st Street, Alfresco Road in Hayburn. Number to write down on the dust on your dashboard of your pickup, 878-4991. He can rebuild all your starters and alternators and generators, and also sells brand new. This man is good. You give him a call at 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. And don't forget again, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, a heat pump. You and your family will always enjoy the comfort. Call them at Ramsey's 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. This man has been on our program before, and I really like his approach to the different news stories, and he's going to talk a little bit about terrorism and the TPP and how they're intertwined. And we say good morning to WorldNet Daily, Curtis Ellis. How are you, Curtis?
Yes, great, Zeb. How are you?
I'm mad and I'm frustrated, and I want to reach out and touch somebody like AT&T. I'll tell you why. I am so fed up with the tone that's in politics today. I am so fed up with what's being fed to us from the White House with Obama and this kind of a soothsayer for Muslim and Islamic activities, and I'm really worried about the TPP trade agreement. Holy smokes, am I glad to have you on the program.
Well, you came to the right place. I can fill everybody in on how this whole thing works. It is an abomination. You got that right.
Well, give us an explanation with the terrorism aspect and how you tied it into the TPP.
Well, what we saw following Brussels is an example of chickens coming home to roost. For more than 50 years now, the Europeans have been trying to erase their borders. They've been pursuing this idea of global integration, right? They're going to integrate their economies. The whole European Union is based on, it's written right in their constitution, it's based on the free flow of people, goods, and capital, money, across borders. The free flow of people as well as goods across borders. Now, that might sound like a good idea, and in many cases, there's some things to be said for it, I guess. But the free flow of people across borders, as we saw in Brussels, not always a good idea. Not always a good idea. If you don't have people checking who's coming in and leaving your country, you don't have a country anymore, you have no control, and you end up with the kind of bloodbath we saw in Brussels, in Paris, everywhere else. And you know, the people of Europe are starting to wise up to this. The people of Europe. Now, the elites of Europe, that's another story that as we can see, the elites in Europe and the elites in Washington are still married to this idea that we have to erase our borders so people from anywhere on earth can move anywhere they want, or anywhere that, let's say, a potential employer wants to move them. Now, the Europeans didn't get into this free flow of people, goods, and money across their borders out of humanitarian interest. It was to facilitate business, to make it easier for the corporate interest to do business and to find labor. The best example is what we saw here in this past year, where you saw 1 million migrants from the Middle East, from Syria, from North Africa, move into Germany. There was like an army marching through the plains of Europe. And the German, Angela Merkel of Germany, invited these people in. And she did it in order to provide a workforce for German industry. I guess the Germans don't have enough babies, or they don't work hard enough, or maybe I suspect the German industrialists wanted cheaper labor. So they say, well, let's bring in a bunch of Muslims from the Middle East. They'll work for nothing. They're used to, working for nothing. And so that's was and going right back to the end of World War II, that's where Western Europe turned to for its workforce. It brought in people from North Africa. The French relied on Algerians. The Germans brought in Turks, and now they're bringing them in from Syria, Afghanistan, all over the place. But what they didn't figure is that these people don't want to integrate into German society, into European society, into the Christian society of Europe. They really want to take over. They want to turn it into an Islamic country, and now we have, in the most virulent way possible, they're not just waiting for the old Germans and all the old Christians of Europe to die off. There's a bunch of them that are now actively trying to kill us.
Curtis, that was an excellent dissertation on what's going on over in Europe. Okay, stop right there. Then my question to you would be, after we can see the pitfalls and we can see the snake pits of what's going on over in Europe, with a globalization and a mass entry of anybody and everybody into these various countries and a complete declination of their cultures and society, why in the world are our stupid legislators looking at, on behalf of the president on down, bringing the same problem here to America?
Exactly. Well put. Look, I think some of these guys in Washington, and I don't know which ones. I don't know if it's Obama. I don't know if it's some of the monkeys in Congress. I don't know what. They may be blinded by altruism and humanitarianism. That these poor struggling people, they're fleeing oppression in the Middle East. They're fleeing oppression in Asia or wherever, or the violent gangs of Honduras. We've got to welcome them in. We've got to bring them into our country, because you take in the person in danger. Some of them may be so deluded. But really what it comes down to, and I think there's a good lot of them, that comes down to this. They have been taught in the top universities of America, in Harvard, in Princeton, in Yale, and that's where they groom the leadership class. And in the top universities in America, they have been taught this dogma of globalism, that nations are a thing of the past. We now have an integrated global economy where people, goods, and money can flow freely, where a business executive, the corporate executive, can decide to use raw materials from one part of the globe, ship them to another country where they'll be fashioned into intermediary parts, and then assembled into the final product in yet a third country, using labor that came from a fourth or fifth country. And in that kind of scheme of things, we want to get rid of borders. We want to get rid of nations. These are just old superstitions from a bygone age. And that's the way they think. And they're trying to move our economy and are trying to move our country to that. They don't even think in terms of countries anymore. They simply think in terms of economies. And people like you and me that still believe in countries, that still believe in our culture, still believe in identity and values, the values we grew up with, well, we're just clinging bitterly to something that's a superstition in their eyes.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's why they're pushing this Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's why just the other day, the President Obama's trade representative was speaking over in Europe. Now, Great Britain wants to pull out of this European Union. They see what a disaster it is, where you have to let immigrants in unlimited numbers come into your country. The British people are saying enough already. This is not what we want. We believe in our king and queen. We want our queen. We want our heritage. We want our culture. And Michael Froman, the president's trade representative, says, we're not interested in having a free trade agreement with Britain. We want to have this kind of trans-Pacific partnership where multiple countries are bound together in one set of rules, because we're not interested in countries having trade agreements with each other. We want to create this mongrel state, this mongrel superstate that's beyond borders.
I'm sitting here and I'm just absolutely mesmerized by your words and the phraseology that people need to pay attention to. We could be looking at, in the sooner, not the latter, a world of complete, utter chaos, a world of no government except supreme one government that would dictate to all people, no leadership except commands by that dictating government, and all the lives given for our country, the blood, sweat, and tears, and our Constitution, all in vain. That's basically what it boils down to, doesn't it?
It certainly does. That's exactly what it boils down to. And it's very interesting that the people who are pushing this stuff, this Trans-Pacific Partnership, now you've heard Donald Trump talk about it on the stump. There's been a lot written about it. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan want to push it through after the election because the American people, now that they're finally learning about this thing, they hate it. They don't want it. And everybody knows they don't want it. So what does the elite leadership do? They say, well, what we're going to do is we'll vote on it after the election, because we know if we vote on it before the election, we won't get reelected. So, well, all these people who are pushing this borderless world with the free flow of people, goods, and money wherever they decide the people should move, it's interesting that they all live in these communities behind very high walls. They send their kids to schools that don't admit just anybody. Meanwhile, they tell us that we have to have 15 languages spoken in our public schools so we can accommodate these new people from Somalia that we're dumping into the schools under their program of accept refugees, accept people from anywhere on earth in unlimited numbers. They all live in communities, in gated communities behind high walls, but they're telling us we can't have a wall around our country. Very, very interesting.
You know, Curtis, one part in the cheat sheet that I was sent regarding your dissertation this morning really scared me, and I'll read it and I want you to elaborate on it. Starting, it says, TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would forbid, there's the key word, forbid us, the United States, from curbing the flow of people across our borders. So basically the United States at this juncture would be non-existent, and there wouldn't be a United States of America from that point on, would there?
As far as I'm concerned, there wouldn't be. There wouldn't be citizens of the United States as we understand that term today. You see, in Chapter 10 of this agreement, it's called Trade in Services, part of the agreement, and it's buried in legal prose, and it's just hidden deep in there. It says that any country can bring in people to provide services into another country. Now, provide services, that nurse who works in the hospital and she's providing health care services. That person building a building or digging a ditch down the street, they're providing construction services. So we could have a company from Malaysia or from Brunei set up a we provide construction services company, and they could recruit people from their home country in Malaysia and provide them to build a building or to provide nursing services in your hospitals. And according to this TPP agreement, our country, our Congress, is not allowed to place any restriction on the number of people providing services. We cannot restrict the number of people by quota. We can't even say, well, you have to hire Americans first before you can bring in a bunch of Malaysian nurses. You have to advertise and try to find an American nurse. No, we would be forbidden from doing that. You have to look for an American carpenter before you bring one in from Brunei or from Vietnam. No, we would not be allowed to do that. This is just like those H-1B visas that we have going on right now, where they're bringing in IT workers, tech workers from India, and having the Americans train them and then firing the Americans and replacing them with foreign labor. It would be illegal to do anything about that under the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Oh, my goodness. You know, let me ask you this question. Are our politicians either blind or dumb or naive or all of the above for not looking into this and understanding it as our representatives for the United States?
I would like to say that they're being paid to be blind, and they're being paid to look the other way. But to be fair, with some of these guys, look, I've worked in Washington. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked in the House of Representatives. I was not an elected official, but I worked for one. They have so much coming at them. They're working 18-hour days for the most part. They have so much coming at them, so many issues coming at them. They rely on their staff, and they rely on the lobbyists to tell them what's going on. They don't even have time to read the bills, the legislation that they're voting on. And so now they've got the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is really the multinational Chamber of Commerce. Those guys don't represent American businesses. They represent these global businesses. They've got the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They got the top guys in their party, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, and they've got all these Harvard-educated smarty-pants kids that never worked in the real world but came right out of school and went to work in Washington. They got all these people telling them, oh, this is a good thing, it's good for business, it's good for, this is the new world order, this is the way it works now. And so they say, okay, fine, you know, if you guys, you're right 9 times out of 10, so I figure you're right on this too. So, but make no mistake, those guys in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and these other lobbyists, they are definitely being paid to be blind. And then they mislead the members of Congress who are so busy trying to figure out, I got 10 bills to work on, we got everything from, you know, the budget to get that bridge fixed to, you know, Auntie Mabel lost her Social Security check and we got to find that for her and take care of the constituents. And then I got to go to a fundraiser and I got to raise money for my re-election bid, and then I got to pay dues to the party. They don't have time to think about this stuff. I've been there. They are told how to vote on every single bill that comes up before Congress. They're given a list of 20. You're going to have 25 votes today, Congressman. Here's the list. Here's how you vote. You vote yes, no, 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 yes, yes, no, no, yes. Right? And while they're walking down the hall to cast their votes, they're being told what they're voting on and how they're voting on it. It's really a mess.
So basically, Curtis, the old Nancy Pelosi adage of, hey, we had to pass the bill so we could read it and find out what's in it is really true, isn't it?
That's exactly true with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and make no mistake, this thing is almost 6,000 pages long. It's twice as long as Obamacare, and most of these guys have not read it. They have no interest in reading it. They're just they're being led around by the nose, and when somebody that they have misleadingly and in error placed their trust in, when someone like that tells them, hey, it's okay, don't worry about it, they don't worry about it, and they just vote for it. That's why it's so important. They need to hear from we the people. They need to hear from the voters and say, don't you dare touch this thing.
One last thought here this morning, Curtis, and pardon my naivete on this, but really who? This is a simplified question, but who are the people that make up the framework of the behind-the-scenes money people, etc., that are really pushing the United States in this direction? Are they people like George Soros? Are they the group MoveOn.org? Who really are the insidious people behind the scenes?
I believe we have this transnational elite of big bankers. You've got the Wall Street folks. They've got their counterparts in the City of London. And you've got the German Bundesbank. And we've come so far so fast. Just 150 years ago, this was a nation, ours was a nation, and the Western world was a nation of small businesses, small companies owned by families, owned by individuals. We worked in a shop, you had blacksmiths, stuff like that. And now you've got giant corporations. People don't work for themselves anymore. Most people don't even work for family businesses anymore. They're working for these faceless corporations, and these corporations are ruled by the financiers of Wall Street, and they dance to that tune. And those are the folks that are pushing all this stuff. They live, because these people live in 3 countries. They got summer homes here, there. They live at 38,000 feet in their private jets or in the first-class cabin. They don't think of themselves as citizens of any particular country.
Can this be stopped, or is it a cancer that has grown so malignant it's going to take over the world?
Well, I think that there is hope. It can be stopped, and I think that, again, with an alert, a vigilant population, I think we got people out there now in this election for the first time. People are talking about these trade treaties. They tried to sweep this under the rug. They thought they were going to get this through last year. They thought this was all going to be done, passed, and over with in January of 2015. We've held it up because the people got wind of it, and it's now become center stage in this election season, and we can stop it.
Wow, I really enjoyed having you on the program this morning. You have great insight to this problem. Curtis Ellis, writer for WorldNet Daily and executive director of the American Jobs Alliance. You've got to promise to come back soon because I want to pursue this again. Thanks, Curtis. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you, sir. Whew, Curtis, excellent spokesperson in regards to how terrorism and, of course, the TPP are intertwined. I said when they first started talking about this TPP, I was against it, this Trans-Pacific Partnership. I think it's nothing more than going to be the ruination of the United States. I'll stand behind that. And any politician that comes on my program, they're going to have to go toe-to-toe with me because I'm not going to back up. I'm not going to change my attitude. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to have my dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, on the program, and so stay tuned to that coming up in the next half hour. Before we send it over to our main studio, I want to remind you about Red's Trading Post. Oh, my goodness sakes. All the way since back in 1936. Red's Trading Post has been in historic Old Town Twin Falls. They're located at 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls, and they've got all the firearms, brand new or used. And they've got firearms from Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, and Winchester. And they've got all the accessories, too. All the gun cleaning kits and the reloading kits and the safety boxes and the safety products, the eye and the ear protection, knives, holsters, everything, along with the hard-to-find powder for the reloaders, too. Red's Trading Post at 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see them today. By the way, we're going to start a segment on this program coming up, I think, on the, Deanne? April 7th is the first segment, I believe, about the Second Amendment, and Ryan Horsley is going to be on there talking to us about all the different bills and laws and legislation that are coming down the pike to try to stop our Second Amendment here in the United States. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
Now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
We really work on this program to try to get the best guests that we can on various subjects that are in the news, whether it's local, whether it's state, or whether it's national or international. And a gentleman that's done a very good job, I think, as a legislator for the state of Idaho, as a representative to this state, Mr. Fred Wood, and he's on the program with us now. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
I am good, except there's a whole bunch of angel dandruff out there that's going to start melting in a big hurry. I hope you can swim.
Well, I'm headed home this afternoon. How much do you have on the flat out there?
I had yesterday about 9 to 10 inches. I know some people in Burley called me and said they had over 14. Up at Albion, I had reports of 20 to 21. And if all this goes with 60 to 70 degree temperatures that they're calling for this weekend, holy smokes, let me in the boat.
Absolutely. Save me a place, too.
All right. Fred, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program this morning. And, it's so easy for the Times News and others to criticize the legislative session. And they had a headline in the paper this last weekend, and that's why I called you and wanted you to come on the program. They said, quote, legislative session more than a dud. It was a dangerous failure. You, as a representative of the state of Idaho, I think would find that very offensive because you didn't just go up there and twiddle your thumbs.
Hardly, Zeb. I mean, you get up at 5:30 every morning and you don't get back home until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and most of your time is spent here working. I read that, and, that was based on the legislature working all session on one specific item, and they based the whole entire legislative assessment for the session on a single item, and nothing could be further from the truth, Seb. I mean, I'm prepared to go through a whole list here of the highlights of exactly what was accomplished, because I think once people hear that, they'll figure out that it was far from any dud.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and I know a lot of your fellow legislators, and I know the dedication. I know that there is, of course, two sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican. I know that there's a lot of conversation on all these issues. But, to encompass in a broadband statement in the headline of this op-ed, legislative session more than a dud, it was a dangerous failure, I really was offended about that headline because I know there are issues like the Medicaid expansion problem with trying to figure out what to do with 78,000 Idahoans in that gap. It's a problem that you can't just stick a Band-Aid on overnight. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
With respect to the Medicaid expansion, that's something that you got to do that right, Seb, because if you don't, you wind up costing the state and the federal dollars a whole lot more than you think you're going to. And if you don't have the right program, you're not actually going to accomplish anything anyway. And they base their whole review and their whole assessment of the legislature on that single item. Mm-hmm. They forgot to take into account the following. One thing the legislature did this legislative session almost approaches historic, and that is the whole water settlement of the eastern Snake Plain aquifer. We had three pieces of legislation that we worked on all session, and towards the end of the session, we put down on paper the agreement to manage the eastern Snake Plain aquifer, how we were going to stabilize the aquifer, and the $16.5 million in funding to start this program, and committed to 10 years of funding to make sure that the state did its part for the recharge efforts, etc. Now, Zeb, we've fought over water for 50 years, and you've reported on that fighting for as many years as you've been on the radio.
Absolutely.
And covering the legislature.
That's right.
So you know what kind of a historic agreement and what kind of historic legislation it was to come to that agreement. That is no small feat. Secondly, look what we did with education. There's $112 million new dollars for K through 12 education. Higher ed got 8% increase in funding. the community colleges, particularly the career technical education component, we increased by 10.4%. You know, I was talking to my accountant who lined out three major programs and entities that may be coming to the Mini-Cassia area to set up shop. And we are at 100% functional enrollment in the workforce at this point in time. I mean, our employment level is at 100% functional, which means that anybody that can work and anybody that wants a job, Zeb, is working. We have a shortage of labor, and we have to have the educational entities like CSI with the ability to train a workforce anytime some big entity wants to come in and build a new processing plant, etc. We did all of that this legislative session. Criminal justice. We had major overhaul of the public defense system. We expanded the stalking statutes. You and I talked 2 years ago about the rules review and the legislative oversight of rules review. That constitutional amendment failed, Zeb, unfortunately. Well, the legislature this year put on the ballot again for the consideration of the citizens to pass, and I hope they do pass this year, HJR 5, which memorializes in the Constitution the ability of the legislature to make absolutely sure that the rules that are promulgated by the executive branch of government, we get the right to review them, and we get the right to make sure that they pass legislative intent. And then when it comes to health care, which they really took us to task for because they said we didn't do anything, well, I beg to differ about that a whole bunch. You know, the governor asked for one crisis center, so we gave him two, because we found out that model works pretty dang well now. We did multiple interstate compacts for healthcare providers so that when we have these big fires, etc., we can get in emergency medical services personnel from other states in the compact so that Idaho recognizes their licensure for emergency medical technicians, emergency medical providers, nurses, advanced practice nurses, etc. And probably one of the things I think that I was the proudest of, Zeb, you know, you typically don't get anything funded unless it's in the governor's budget. Mm-hmm. Well, last year the legislature charged the Health Planning Commission with coming up with a suicide prevention plan for the state of Idaho, because Idaho has one of the highest suicide rates in the United States. So they didn't get their plan together in time to get their budget request in front of the governor. So the governor had no budget request whatsoever for Idaho's suicide prevention plan. The legislature went to work, and in the first time that I can remember in 5 or 6 years, we actually got funded $1 million, which is what the request was for the suicide prevention plan that wasn't in the governor's budget. That's almost unheard of, Zeb, to do stuff like that. And then for those, we increased the medical school seats by 7, 5 at University of Washington, 2 at University of Utah, and did a tremendous work, a lot of work on the foster care system. You know, for somebody to sit around and say that we didn't do anything and that we were a dud, that just misses the point. That's just plain wrong.
And, you know, I want to get back. We've got a caller on the air with a question, and then I want to pursue some other questioning on this. But go ahead, caller. You're on the air with Representative Fred Wood. Go ahead.
Yes, Fred, old Marching boy here. Hey, I got a question for you. Why in the world did you vote against the constitutional carry bill?
I'm glad you asked that question. And I did vote against it, and I'll tell you exactly why I voted against it. For 100 years, Idaho has had a permit system for constitutional carry, and Idaho's Constitution guarantees the right to open carry, but reserves for the legislature the right to regulate concealed carry. Now, I don't know about you, but I have always felt that two classes of people should never be able to own, possess, or use firearms. And those are, first of all, the mentally ill, and secondly, convicted felons should never, in my opinion, have the right to own, possess, and use firearms. The problem with this bill, it just destroys the permit system. So there is no check and balances on trying to make sure that the mentally ill and convicted felons won't be able to possess and use firearms. So what you're faced with now is that every single time a police officer makes a traffic stop or anything else, they used to be able to know that, well, this guy's got a concealed weapons permit, so he's probably got a gun on him, or he may have. But if he didn't, it wouldn't. They don't know that now. Every single car now they have to approach, they have to presume that that person is carrying a gun. Whether he's mentally ill or not, whether he's a convicted felon or not, or whatever. So that's why I opposed it. Now, I know that in some circles that's not popular. But after careful consideration on my part, I think it's a dangerous bill, and that's why I voted against it.
Caller, any response?
Fred, I was just going to point out, the mentally ill and the convicted felons aren't going to obey the law anyway.
Well, but we have a chance of catching them ahead of time with a permit system.
That's right.
And now, they can go steal a gun or whatever, but the fact is that there's no, I have a concealed weapons permit. I don't carry at all. Never found a reason to do that. I have it when I purchase. But I think there's a significant check and balance there to prevent the mentally ill in particular and convicted felons from doing that.
I appreciate
so that's what I did.
I don't think you're going to change it at all, but that's just my opinion.
Sure. All right, caller, thank you for...
I know you're committing political suicide with that stance.
Well, be that as it may, I didn't, and I appreciate your opinion, and I hope you appreciate mine. I just didn't think that it was appropriate to do that, and that's my explanation.
Thank you for your call. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Fred, one other issue that your name came in prominence... Turn the caller off, please, Wheels. Thank you. One other issue that your name came in prominence was that you voted against the fact that the Bible could be used as an educational tool. At first, when I read it, I thought, but then I understood your viewpoint, and I want you to explain it to the audience, please.
You bet. That bill is unconstitutional. The Attorney General's opinion in black and white says that. And almost every lawyer that I've talked to says that. Because it's worded incorrectly. Had they used the phrase religious text, which would, of course, include the Bible,
right,
etc., it would have been fine. But they single out a particular text, and all First Amendment law prohibits you from doing that. So what's going to happen is this. And I explained my vote on the floor of the House, and we've seen an awful lot of this. As a matter of fact, we've not won a case since 1997, when we've known that the law was unconstitutional. We passed it anyway, and we've spent millions and millions of dollars defending that and lost every single one of them of taxpayers' dollars. So what's going to happen is within a few months the ACLU will file a lawsuit. It will be declared unconstitutional, as all the lawyers agree it will be. And then, of course, the attorneys for the opposing side are going to come along and require the state of Idaho to pay their legal bills, which, according to the law, we have to pay. So the taxpayers are going to wind up spending $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 plain needlessly to defend a lawsuit that all the lawyers agree is unconstitutional. Zeb, that's just crazy.
Well,
so that's why I didn't.
I appreciate and respect your giving us an analogy of what happened. I want to ask this question, though, Fred. In regards to, and I don't mean to go back and just use this as a whip this morning, but the Medicaid expansion. Did Governor Otter and did the Speaker of the House and others confer and say, hey, you know what, this is going to come up again in the next legislative session. It's going to demand and take a lot of our time. Did they devote a workforce or a task force of education and learning during the summer months going into next fall so that they can get the answers and possibly solutions and not take so much of the legislative time?
As a matter of fact, I was just up in the Speaker's office before I came down here, and that was the very issue that we were talking about. And I was in the Governor's office this morning, although I did not get to meet with the Governor. But the Speaker, as soon as the primary elections are over with, the Speaker is going to appoint a small working group, and the pro tem of the Senate is going to appoint one also. It'll be combined, and their charge will be to come up with a piece of legislation that early on in the session can be introduced so that we will accomplish, hopefully, what we need to accomplish with respect to that. Yes.
Okay, now, in regards,
yes.
in any other topics or items that you think were very important that basically didn't get taken care of at this session, are you concerned about something coming up that wasn't taken care of other than the Medicaid gap that next year is going to cause and create a lot of time from the session? What do you think is going to happen going into next fall and winter?
I don't. You know, the biggest thing, again, of course, is going to be educational funding, and it always will be for a number of years. That's always going to occupy the majority of the legislature's time. I mean, just period. No matter what, that will. Secondly, will always be the budget.
Right.
Trying to find out what we think the real revenue projection is going to be, given the tax structure that we have, and then not overspending our dollars. We do have 2 or 3 committees, interim committees outstanding, one of which is a tax reform committee to look at whether or not we should have a significant change in our taxing structure. Another one is we made some progress for state purchasing laws. We need to continue to work on that and have another significant effort at completing changing the state purchasing laws. And then there's all kinds of smaller issues that are coming up, but I don't see anything the size of Medicaid expansion at all.
Okay. You know, Fred, I got to compliment you, and I'm saying this in front of everyone. I really highly respect you for your straightforward attitude. You've always given the answers to the questions, and I appreciate that. Representative Fred Wood, have a good kind of a vacation, and call us again and come back on the program soon, if you would.
Zeb, thank you very much.
All right. Representative Fred Wood, and I appreciate him being on the program this morning to answer a lot of the questions for the past legislative session. Thank you very much. Hey, we've got to get a weather forecast in here, and it's brought to you by Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. You know what? If you got some money coming back from your taxes, what a great way to invest in something that'll be around. You can enjoy the tax return meat bundle. You know what it is? 70-plus pounds of beef and pork and chicken for only $249 plus tax. It is good, guaranteed delicious. Your hometown meat cutters, Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that number, 324-7657. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, Well, we finally made it through Snowpocalypse 2016. Time now for your weather here at Zab at the Ranch. For today, looks like a slight chance of snow, maybe a little bit of rain. Partly sunny in the afternoon, highs around 52. For tonight, going to see some clouds, lows around 32. Mostly sunny for tomorrow and a high near 54. Going to see a little bit of wind as well, partly cloudy for Thursday night, lows of 34. Then sunshine and 60 for Friday, clearing up and looking really, really well throughout the rest of the week. That is your weather with Seventh Ranch.
Thank you very much, Scotty. Appreciate it. And brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I've got time for some calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And give me your thoughts, comments on whatever subject we've talked about this morning. I need to get this public service announcement in real quick, and we'll wait for your call. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Thursday night, March 31st, at 6:30 p.m., there will be a free Liberty meeting in Twin Falls on the CSI campus at the Shields Building, room 115. It's going to be discussing Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, and the speaker is going to be Karen Schumacher, and they're going to cover a lot of things about federal land, water takeovers, all kinds of interesting subjects that are really in the forefront for today. The Liberty meeting in Twin Falls at CSI Shields Building tomorrow night, room 115 at 6:30, and it is free. Also, I've been talking about the Baptists having a great big dinner. Well, they're going to have a big dinner. The Burley Baptist, First Baptist Church at 2262 Highland Avenue in Burley. On Saturday, they're going to have an enchilada dinner from 5 to 7, and they're going to be raffling off a half a beef and a quarter of a beef, and the tickets are $5 each, or 5 for $20. And then right after that, they're going to have a big auction starting at approximately 7 p.m. They've got tractors and guns and paintings and all kinds of good things. So be sure and be in attendance for that Burley First Baptist Church big dinner, enchilada dinner on Saturday night. Whoa, I want to say thank you to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, I've got a big brochure here, and it goes through all the different tires for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, and a lot of which are on sale right now, like the Proxys 4 Plus for your automobiles. All-season performance, modern dual-tread design. And they've all 7 locations have got the convenient credit for all their services, and they've got the custom design wheels to really dress up your four-wheeled wonder. And then other services, the brake service. Absolutely professionally trained technicians, free brake inspections and estimates, and always premium quality parts, front-end alignments, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this, and including the best of service. Always, anytime, all the time, at all 7 locations. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. All right, what have we got cooking for tomorrow? Once again, tomorrow, Thursday, we've got open forum in the first hour, and then, of course, the Chamber Report. We've got Dog Nation. We've got Rita Ramsey. We've got the Cache County School Days tomorrow, and we're going to be featuring Raft River Elementary teacher Angie Spencer, 5th grade teacher, going to talk about blended learning. And then, of course, at 10:30, I want to stress the fact that I'm going to have Tawny Crane on the program. This young woman is the daughter of Lavoy Finicum, that I said last hour was absolutely, I think, erroneously shot and killed in Oregon, and we're going to talk about her dad's book. She is the daughter of Lavoy Finicum, and I heartily suggest you get that book. We're going to tell you all about it tomorrow, how to get the book, because the proceeds are going to go to help the family on the ranch down in Arizona, and it's a very very foretelling of the future book. It was really eerie, and we're going to have Tawny on tomorrow to talk about that and give kind of a definition as to what her dad wanted to get across as a point to all of us. All of that coming up on tomorrow morning's program. I want to say thank you. And by the way, we had a couple of calls saying, how do we get your blog, Cow Pies and Coffee Cups? You go to zebbell.com. Zebbell.com. You'll see a special section on there for Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. Click on your email address, and we'll make sure that we start sending it to you, okay? We're going to take a little break right now and go home. I am home. Well, then I'll go to my geezer chair for a few minutes. We're going to say goodbye to Wheels and everybody else for today, but tune in again tomorrow morning at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours till 11 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning.